Hi viewers, welcome to Johnny English Learning Studio, and the topic that we will discuss today is clause. So by the end of the lesson we are going to learn what is a clause, how to identify a clause, what is the difference between a phrase and a clause, and about the classifications of clauses. So what is a clause? To understand clause better, we must know what is a finite verb and what is a non-finite verb. In my previous videos about verbs and its classification, I've clarified about finite and non-finite verb. But for the sake of the lesson, of today's lesson, I'm going to discuss it again. Look at the very first example. Going there, I met Shumon. If I change this sentence into present perfect tense, it will become going there, I have met Shumon. Or if I change it to future simple, it will become going there, I will meet Shumon. So this verb is changing according to the tense. And if I change the subject also, like if I say going there, he meets Shumon. So if I make it third person singular number, the verb we have to use an extra as there. He meets Shumon. So the verb that changes according to the tense and according to the subject is called a finite verb. This verb going, it didn't change. So the verb that doesn't change according to the tense or subject is called a non-finite verb. What is a clause? A clause is a part of sentence that is formed with a subject and a finite verb. So the part of sentence that is formed with a subject and a finite verb is called a clause. So in this sentence, this part is a clause. And the first part, going there, it doesn't contain any finite verb, so it is a phrase. So we have come to know what is a clause and what is a phrase. Now, there are three types of clauses. These are principal clause, subordinate clause, and coordinate clause. What is a principal clause? Principal clause is a part of sentence that itself can express its full meaning. It is not dependent on any other clause. That's why it is also called an independent clause. We can go through the first two examples, like if you come, I will go. If I remove the first part of this sentence, if I just say I will go, can it make a full sense? Yes, I will go. It can be a sentence. So here I will go is a principal clause. It contains a subject, it has a finite verb, and it makes sense. So it is a principal clause or independent clause. But if I remove the second part, if I just say if you come, it doesn't make any sense. If you come, though there is a subject, there is a finite verb, but it cannot make a full sentence. It cannot express the full meaning. Then it is called a subordinate clause or dependent clause. So we know about principal clause or independent clause, we know about subordinate clause, or which is also called a dependent clause. What is a coordinate clause? To know that, we have to know about subordinate conjunction and about coordinate conjunction. But before that, let me give another example of a principal clause and subordinate clause. In the very next sentence, the boy who comes here is my cousin. If I remove this part, who comes here, the boy is my cousin, it can complete the full meaning. It has a full meaning. The boy is my cousin. So it is a principal clause. Who comes here is a subordinate clause. And a coordinate clause is which contains a coordinate conjunction. What is the difference between subordinate conjunction and coordinate conjunctions? Subordinate conjunctions link between two clauses where one is a principal clause, another one is a subordinate clause. And a coordinate conjunction links two clauses which are equivalent. Both of the clauses are principal clause, like he climbed up, I climbed down, and I linked the two clause with the coordinator with the conjunction, but here it is a coordinate conjunction and it has linked two clauses Both are principal clause, and the clause that is used with a coordinate conjunction is called a coordinate clause. So we know about subordinate clause, we know about principal clause, and we know about coordinate clause. These subordinate clause are of three types. They are noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause. Come to the very next example. Here I have written, what he said was unclear to us. What he said was unclear to us. Here the clause what he said has acted as a subject, has acted as a noun. And noun clause acts as a subject or as an object. Like I can say the same sentence by using this clause as an object. Like I can say, it is unclear to us what he says. So what he says or what he said is a noun clause. It acts as a noun. Similarly, in the very next sentence, I have said that he is a thief. Is known to all. That he is a thief. This clause has acted as a noun, as a subject. So it is called a noun clause. It is called a noun clause. But we have to remember, we have to learn one more thing. That is a clause which acts as a noun clause, which acts as a subject, and which begins with the word that. The clause that begins with the word that and acts as a subject is called nominal that clause. It is also called nominal that clause. Now we can come to the very next sentence where I have written, the news that he will come is known to us. Here in this sentence, there is a clause that he will come. What is this clause? What he is doing? He is actually giving an extra information about the subject, about the first noun. When a clause is used just after a noun, and when that clause adds something and acts as a noun itself, then it is called apposition. It is called apposition or appositive. Here that he will come is a noun clause and is an apposition. Like in the previous sentence I've written that he is a thief. Before that, if I add a noun like the fact that he is a thief is known to all. Here that he is a thief is the fact. What it is? It is the fact. What is this? It is the news. So they are actually adding extra information about the subject, about the noun that has been used. So a clause that is used after a noun and says something extra about that noun is called apposition or appositive. It also acts as a noun clause. Okay, so we have come to know about noun clause. What is an adjective clause? The clause that modifies the noun or a pronoun, that is called an adjective clause. In the previous sentence, the sentence was the news that he will come. So what is the news? The news is that he will come. But in the next sentence, I have written the news that I have come to know is true. What is the news? So this clause is not saying anything. Like it is not saying what is the news. It is a totally different thing. It is modifying the news. So it is that I have come to know. What is the news? The news that I have come to know. I have come to know the news. What is the news? It is not said here. So when a clause modifies the noun, it doesn't say anything extra about the noun, it modifies the noun, then it is called an adjective clause. I think we have understood the difference between a noun clause and an adjective clause. We have understood the difference between an apposition and an adjective clause. We have come to know about nominal that clause, which is also a noun clause, but it is called nominal that clause when it acts as a subject and it begins with the word that. We have come to know about coordinate clause, we have come to know about subordinate clause and also about principal clause. We know about the difference between a clause and a phrase. Now it is time to discuss about adverb clause. Adverb clause. Adverb clause means when a clause says something about the principal clause. It modifies the time of that principal clause or place. It can be the purpose, it can be the result, the condition, the comparison, the contrast, and many more. Like I can say, for time I can give an example, like wait until I come here. So wait until I come here. So it is modifying the principal clause. Or I can say like stay where you are. Where you are, it is saying about the place. Purpose, I can say he works hard so that he can get a good job. So that he can get a good job, that is the purpose, and that is saying something about the principal clause, the purpose of the principal clause. Result, I can say like the thing is so heavy that I cannot lift it. So what is the result? I cannot lift it. So here it is adverb clause. It is so heavy that is an adverb clause. That is the result. Or he is so foolish that you cannot rely on him. He is so foolish that. So it is saying about the effect, about the result. Or I can say about contrast, like even if I fail, I will not lose hope. So even if I fail, it is the contrast, I will not lose hope. So when the clause says about the time, place, purpose, result, contrast, comparison, or about condition, like if you come, I will go. So if you come, it is the condition. When it says about the condition, so it is an adverb clause. Says about condition or comparison or contrast, these are called adverb clause. I hope you have understood the difference between phrase and clause, and you have also understood about different types of clauses. So thank you. Stay home, stay safe.